You're watching Halton News right here on YourTV. I'm your host, Jessica Kading. Taking a look at the most recent COVID-19 numbers here in the Halton region, Oakville continues to be the municipality with the highest overall number of cases, followed by Milton, Halton Hills, and then Burlington. There are 8 newly confirmed COVID-19 cases in Halton residents since yesterday's update, plus 1 additional probable case. But with 9 new full recoveries, our total number of active cases remains the same as yesterday at 145. The total overall number of confirmed and probable cases the region has reported since all of this has began is now 670. Since we've entered stage 1 of recovery, we've seen a lot of things slowly opening back up and some restrictions easing. Some retailers are opening their doors again, parks and conservation areas are opening as well. But what about town programs or town facilities? As we get closer to summer, I'm sure many of you are wondering when we can go do things like swimming again or playing sports or even go to the library. We spoke with Milton Mayor Gordon Krantz this morning to get a sense of where the town is at in terms of reopening. Krantz opened up our conversation by saying, well, it all depends. Let's take a look.
The decision was already made that the town hall, as an example, will stay closed until, I believe, and I stand corrected on this, until at least July the 5th. But as I said many times, these things are very fluid. As an example, if things run really, really well, I could call a special council meeting, and of course, the town is operated by consensus, a majority of council's decisions. The parks were always open, but we were really urging people certainly not to use the picnic benches as an example, to not use them. Swings and slides in the parks will still be shut down or locked up, as I refer to them. The sports fields, of course, are still closed. We're not encouraging, say, soccer, or ball or stuff like that in any of our parks right now. But as I mentioned, the tennis courts will be opening up on Friday, May the 22nd. So things are very slowly but surely happening and opening up here with town facilities.
And while various reopenings are being announced, parents are certainly all well aware that earlier this week it was officially announced by Premier Doug Ford that schools will not be opening this June. Our local Oakville MPP Stephen Crawford comments on that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jessica. It's always a pleasure to be here on Halton TV. And yes, the provincial education minister, Stephen Lecce, made an announcement earlier this week that kids will not be going back to school this school year. So it's an unfortunate decision. It's unprecedented, but it's done with the overriding concern of safety for our students and for our teachers. And it's been a tough decision, but I think it was a necessary one. And I think most parents support that. What we have done is we've really drastically increased the number of online courses that are available to students. And we've really encouraged teachers to be engaged more in online learning through this, obviously this process. But, we've made it clear that students will be getting report cards at the end of the year, and they will continue to learn, and we'll go from there.
There's also been a lot of talk about school closings and e-learning continuing into the summer. I've talked to MPP Crawford and asked him to comment on that as well.
Yeah, so the government has made it very clear that we want education and the kids' educational journeys to continue through the summer. So we've made a lot of programs and online learning available this summer. So we want kids to be engaged. Unfortunately, overnight camps this year have been canceled, but pending local health officials, we will have some day camps available for children. And going forward in September, we'll see how everything is unveiled at that time. But we do expect children to be back in the school in September. How it will be different, we are working on right now, because obviously safety of the children is the most important overriding concern. But we do expect kids to be back in the school in September. It just may be slightly changed from where we are today, but we'll see as time progresses.
It has been a struggle for many businesses in these pandemic times, including our local farmers. We spoke with Milton MP Adam Van Couverden, who's been in touch with many of them these past several weeks. He does say there's help waiting for them. Let's take a look.
It's tough to fill positions with the labor market being what it is right now. Some are thriving and some are suffering. It really depends on the industry. So yeah, we're trying to support everybody. Certainly some of the farms that rely a little bit more heavily on tourism, they're going to hurt a little bit harder. I chatted just the other day with Spring Ridge Farms just here in Milton, and not knowing how they're going to do hay bale rides and all the fun things that we go to Spring Ridge for, to go and pet the animals, without a lot of certainty on exactly how that's going to go for local tourist-based farms. It's challenging, but there's a couple of different programs. A couple have been announced through Minister Mary Cloud Bibeau's office, and others through FedDev Ontario. So the quickest way to look is through your funding partner, whether that's a bank or a credit union. There is money available for farmers in the agricultural business. But then FedDev Ontario. So just a quick Google of FedDev Ontario. I believe it's feddevontario.gc.ca. That website's great, and it actually has a section you can click on for COVID-19 relief, and that funding is available. There's also BCAP funding available, and my family was involved in farming a little bit. My uncle and grandfather were apple farmers, but I never had to apply for funding, so I won't claim to be an expert on how to apply for agricultural funding, but I do know the funding is there. And of course, be in touch with my office at adam.vancouverdon@parle.gc.ca if you've got any questions, because we'd like to see as many local businesses, including farmers, and the agricultural industry locally receive this funding and stay alive and afloat during these challenging times.
Further, Vancouverden says there's no better time to ask the government for help than now.
If the programs aren't suiting your needs and you don't have access, then let my office know, because never before have great ideas influenced legislation as significantly as it is right now. When I have feedback from a local constituent, I pick up the phone and I call the minister in that department and I say, look, Jane from the local salon, she doesn't pay her workers with the T4. She doesn't use conventional payroll. She uses contract. And I imagine that there's a lot of businesses across Canada with this situation. So I'm calling to advocate for her. And then 2 weeks later, boom, we've got an enhanced eligibility for SEBA. And now, and Jane, who's a fictional character here on Main Street. But there are a lot of salons and a lot of barbershops, tattoo parlors, physio clinics, chiropractic clinics, music schools. They pay all of their people on a contract basis, and they shouldn't be punished for that. So I'm really grateful that the government is listening. And if you've got ideas or suggestions, get in touch with my office, because we want to hear from you.
Meanwhile, the provincial government is leading the country with 22 clinical trials investigating COVID-19 vaccines and treatments. Oakville North Burlington MPP Effie Triantafilopoulos joins us to comment on the announcement made earlier this afternoon.
So the announcement that we made today was based on an earlier announcement the Premier made about a month ago, when he announced a $20 million fund to be able to help support researchers finding a cure to COVID-19. So this COVID-19 fund was actually on Ontario Together's portal. Over 1,000 submissions came in a period of about 3 weeks. And today, 15 of the first projects were actually announced. They're receiving $7.2 million to support their research, a combination of hospitals and post-secondary institutions who actually submitted proposals for funding. Interestingly, 4 of the proposals that were in fact awarded went to McMaster University.
That's excellent. So what does this mean going forward?
So the purpose of the funding was to see if we can actually find a made in Ontario, a made in Canada vaccine to actually combat COVID-19. We have such incredible institutions in this country and certainly in our province. And so the research that's being done now could actually be groundbreaking and not only help all of our Canadian and Ontario residents, but perhaps globally be able to assist in combating COVID-19. So we think the expertise is here, the knowledge is here, and our researchers are second to none in terms of their know-how. And $7.2 million today went into 15 projects that are going to be funded here in Ontario.
That's fantastic. And while we have you here, do you have any message for your local constituents who are watching today?
Well, I want to congratulate all of our local constituents because they've really done all of the hard work that it requires to do in terms of self-isolating for the last actually 10 weeks now, practicing the social distancing that we need in order to be able to improve our health results on COVID-19. Halton, I think, has been able to do a good job and has not really been as hard hit as some of the other regions of Ontario. And that really has a lot to do with the fact that everyone's been listening and practicing social distancing.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Another COVID-19 topic making headlines lately, of course, has been the new recommendation to wear masks whenever it's difficult to social distance. But something you may not have considered is that mask wearing is making it more difficult for those with hearing issues to communicate. With May being Better Hearing Month, Mary Tendeshay took the opportunity to speak with the Director of Audiology, Andrea Salic, to discuss the obstacles and the solutions.
So we're seeing a lot of mask wearing for source control, so protecting the individual as well as protecting other people. And the consequence of that is that you're robbing individuals of visual cues. And so we don't realize it, but we're not just hearing with our ears, we're hearing with our brain. And that means that we're not just looking for the sounds that we're hearing, but we're looking for visual cues, be it body language or lip reading. And our brain uses the sum of all of that information in order to understand what's heard. And so with mask wearing, we're taking away a lot of those visual cues. And so again, people that might have been at a disadvantage hearing, we're relying on those visual cues, and you take those away, and that again can make all the difference. So one of the ways we're trying to overcome the issue with losing the visual cues with mask wearing is that we're sourcing masks that have visible pane where the mouth is, and so that's allowing you to preserve some of the visual cues that would have otherwise been lost. And it might not be a perfect solution, but it's a nice compromise in allowing us to keep our staff safe, our patients safe, and still help keep communication the best we can under these circumstances.
Masks are definitely part of our current situation. Going forward, it may be our new reality. If someone would like to obtain a mask that has a clear opening, where would they go about getting that?
So right now, the easiest way to source them is there's a lot of individuals making handmade masks, and that's probably the easiest way for people out in the community to access them. And so whether it's, a local tailor that's, found this as an opportunity to help people out, that's probably the most likely bet, although there are some that are being large scale manufactured. It's just a little bit more difficult for the public to access those.
In other local news, earlier today, Halton Regional Council has unanimously endorsed a resolution asking the provincial government to postpone rather than cancel the Halton Consolidated Courthouse project. The new courthouse was expected to replace aging courthouses in Milton and Burlington, which have experienced ongoing resourcing and security issues. It would have brought much-needed economic stimulus to Halton, along with approximately 600 jobs. Council feels strongly that the shovel-ready project is critical to post-COVID-19 recovery of the local economy and that it's an ideal federal-provincial infrastructure stimulus project. The conditions of the courthouse facilities have long been a source of concern for many in Halton, and Halton Police Chief Stephen Tanner has even stated that the Milton Courthouse is dangerous and considered beyond repair and beyond renovation. To view the full council resolution, visit halton.ca to access the agenda package for the May 20th council meeting. Also, the Burlington Rotary Lakeshore has made the difficult and unfortunate decision to cancel Canada's largest Ribfest event this year in Burlington due to COVID-19. It was not an easy decision to make, but they say it became increasingly clear that the large-scale public event would be impossible and impractical for 2020. That being said, they're already planning for next year's 25th anniversary version and say it will be bigger and better. Unfortunately, there are many charities who will miss out on funds due to this cancellation. So the Burlington Rotary Lakeshore asks you consider donating to Halton Food for Life, Burlington Food Bank, Salvation Army Food Bank, Food for Kids, Wellington Square Meal Program, Halton Women's Place, the Carpenter Hospice, Joseph Brant Hospital, or Rotary Burlington Lakeshore. Thanks for being with us here on Halton News. We do need to take a short break. We'll be right back with an update on a school with no name. Jean Vanier High School needs a new name before September, and we have the latest update for you on that. The Halton Halton Catholic District School Board is promising students of a local high school in Milton a new name by the time they go back in September. Just to remind you, the high school in Milton was formerly called Jean Vanier, named after a man who has since been accused of sexual misconduct. Although Jean Vanier died last year before the allegations were made public, the school board took immediate action to remove the name. Now all that's left to do is choose a new one. Melissa Candelaria has more.
The Halton Catholic District School Board is working fast to get a new name for the former Jean Vanier High School in Milton. Board trustee Patrick Murphy says they formed a naming committee that has a large representation.
This is a unique situation, and it really is not covered. The renaming of a school when there isn't a consolidation is really not covered in our policy. We are following that policy to strike the committee. Typically, a committee will have 5 people. This committee has about 18 people. We thought it was important that because there is a culture and a spirit in the school, we wanted to make sure that the school was well represented with senior staff, teachers, students, and the parent council. So we've had 2 meetings. There was a survey that was sent out to the ratepayers for Jean Vanier and the feeder schools. We came back, there was 122 possible names.
The committee has narrowed it down to 6 names. Murphy says they decided to break it down into 3 categories.
So there was 2 males, 2 females, and 2 religious concepts, for lack of a better way of describing it. So the 2 male names are St. Francis Xavier, St. Andre Bessette. The 2 female names are St. Catherine, who's an Indigenous saint, and St. Therese Lizot, I believe it's pronounced. And then our concepts are Immaculate Heart of Mary and Merciful Redeemer.
These 6 names have been sent out in a new survey to parents, students, and other members affected. Murphy says results of that survey will be brought back to committee in a final meeting to decide which moves forward.
Typically, it's 2 names. So it's a predominant name that the committee decides on, and then an alternate. And then that goes to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees vote on it. Once it's voted, then it goes to the diocese. So it goes to the bishop for approval. And then if the bishop signs off on it, that becomes the new name.
The survey is on until May 25th. Reporting for Halton News, I'm Melissa Candelaria.
Another gorgeous day out there. Here's a look at the beach down by Bronte Marina in Oakville as we take a look at our 5-day weather forecast. A mix of sun and clouds tomorrow. We can look forward to an afternoon high of 22 degrees. And then warmer as we start our weekend off, but we are expecting cloud cover both Saturday and Sunday before the sun makes another appearance Monday as our high reaches a balmy 28 degrees. Enjoy that if you can before the Tuesday rain showers. The Halton Hills Chamber of Commerce wants to know how you're coping with reopening. They invite you to join them on Zoom on Tuesday, May 26th at 10 a.m. to discuss what you've learned, what resources and help you still need, and how your PPE supply is. This meeting is free and open to all members and non-members alike because we're all in this together. To register, please visit haltonhillschamber.on.ca. And now we'll look at today's closing market numbers. Stay with us. We'll return with Dr. Bhattacharya, a local psychiatrist who will explain the difference between sympathy and empathy and the importance of this during the pandemic. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Halton News. I'm Jessica Kading. During this current COVID-19 crisis, we may be feeling sympathetic to the needs and feelings of others, but are we actually being empathetic? Dr. Bhattacharya explains the difference.
Hi, this is Dr. Ashik Bhattacharya from the Empathy Clinic talking about empathy. So empathy is a complex matter, but let's try and simplify it using some fruit. So my daughter Emily is here to help us today with this. Thanks, Emily. Can you take that orange for me? Now, sympathy is different than empathy. So if something happened between the two of us that was kind of an orange situation, and I see it as, well, kind of feels like an orange to me. How about you, Emily?
Kind of feels like an orange to me.
So we're in simpatico. We're in full agreement with this. We're able to sympathize with each other's experience, and that's a good thing. Now let's just change it up a little bit. Emily, can you take these, please? Now let's say something happened between the two of us, but I see it as an apple. Emily, how do you see it?
I see it as a banana.
Now, if I try to get Emily to insist that she should see it as an apple, and she's holding this banana the whole time, it's not going to work out very well. So empathy happens when I try to look at Emily's perspective and kind of forget about my apple, just for that little moment. The same thing can happen for Emily when she's trying to see this apple here, and she can forget about her bananas for a little bit. So when the empathy happens, even though the orange might have been what happens, I'm actually seeing Emily's bananas, and maybe she's seeing
your apple.
And that's when empathy can actually happen. It's soothing, it's calming, it causes peace, people can relax more, they're triggered, they can get more access to their brain fitness, and guess what? Everyone's in a better mood. So thanks for listening, stay safe, and see you next time.
The Milton Farmers Market, operated by the Milton Chamber of Commerce, has found a temporary home at Country Heritage Park. The market will open at the new location this weekend on Saturday, May 23rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. They have both an in-person market and an online pre-ordering market available. For more details, including a list of vendors, visit miltonfarmersmarket.ca. Tonight on YourTV in the Burlington Oakville Market, we present Halton Women's Place with Carm Botso. Community Cultures follows at 7:30, and back-to-back episodes of West End Jazz starts at 8 o'clock. For viewers in Milton and Halton Hills, Actin' Up with Alex Hilson starts at 7. Let's Just Do This with Margaret Wallace Duffy follows at 7:30, followed by Local Matters at 8, and Seth Ferguson presents Real Estate Simplified at 8:30. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like more content, please visit us online at yourtv.tv. We're also available on social media at YourTV Halton on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Halton News, I'm Jessica Keating. We'll be live again tomorrow night at 5:30. We'll see you then.